Welcome to Grace Point. My name is Nathaniel Green. I'm on the team here, and it's a delight to welcome you to our Sunday gathering. If it's your first time, welcome. We hope more than anything that you leave today's gathering feeling you are beloved and that you belong. Above all, we hope that you know that who you are and who you love are affirmed and celebrated and included at all levels. So thank you for being here today and entrusting us with your time. This last week has felt like a decade. I have aged. It's a lot. I still have many hours of sleep to recuperate, but thank you for joining us today, even after all of that. We encourage everybody, if you haven't already, to get plugged in by visiting gracepoint.net/subscribe. There's a bunch of different ways, whether it's via social media, via the internet, or just getting plugged in with the team. We'd be thrilled to get to know you in our virtual spaces. We'd be thrilled to get plugged in with you. So thank you again for joining us today. Thank you for bringing yourself to this gathering. We hope that it is a restful and encouraging and empowering experience. Welcome home.
Welcome to Grace Point.
We are a progressive Christian church,
loving our community by gathering in our homes.
Even as we practice social distancing,
we're asking big questions about what it means to be human,
what it means to love our neighbors,
and what it means to follow Christ.
We're cultivating a safe virtual space to deconstruct or reconstruct,
to question and to grow.
We are welcoming, affirming, and fully inclusive.
because who you are and who you love are celebrated here.
While we may be physically apart from one another,
we believe we're never truly alone.
You are never alone.
We're together in this.
We're together in this. So even though we can't give you a hug just yet,
We want you to know that you are beloved,
You are included.
And you are affirmed.
Welcome to Grace Point.
Welcome to Grace Point.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Everything is mine in you. Even when my heart is breaking, everything is mine in you. Even when my hands are empty, everything is mine in you. Oh, in you. Everything is mine in you. I can trust you with my longing. Everything is mine in you. Even when the road is lonely, everything is mine in you. Oh, in you. 'Cause you are constant through it all, and you say you'll catch me when
morning, GP kids, GP youth, and GP grown-ups. I hope each of you is doing really well. I encourage you to spend time connecting with your GP community this week. GP Kids Grown-Ups, you connect every other Thursday at 8 p.m. on Zoom. These gatherings are an opportunity for us to experience community, connection, and belonging. For gathering info, check out gracepoint.net/calendar. GP Kids, you hang out every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Zoom. For hangout information, check out our GPK Instagram at GracePointKidsTN. GP Youth, you hang out every Friday at 6:30 p.m. and every Sunday morning at 10:45 a.m. on Discord. You connect throughout the week on Discord. For a Discord invite code, email me at lisa@gracepoint.net. GPYK gamers, you connect throughout the week on our new GPYK Minecraft server. For instructions on how to join the server, check your weekly Sunday email. And if you'd like to be added to the email list, email me at lisa@gracepoint.net. GP Kids, this week we continue our Gratitude and Attitude series. This week we discuss perseverance and practicing peace. Sometimes we can get overwhelmed wondering if our acts of love and kindness and peace are really making a difference. This week, our great cloud of witnesses reminds us that every drop of love, kindness, and peace gathers together to make an important impact. For access to our GPK Bitmoji gathering space, our principal discussion guides, as well as all that is being created for and shared with you, check out our Facebook groups, Instagram accounts, and your email inbox. All right, peace out, big air hugs, and so much love to each and every one of you.
Hey Grace Point, here are a few updates about what's happening around the community. So first off, make sure you join us each Wednesday night at 6:30 Central. We'll send out a reminder text. We have Reconstruct, where we kind of discuss the big ideas and questions about our faith, our lack of faith, our experiences. There's space for you wherever those are. You're welcome to join us. And if you haven't yet, it's a really great way to get acquainted and familiar with other people in the community because it's a conversational experience. It's also a way to just kind of learn and to grow, and we all learn from one another. And as we learned last week, curiosity is at the core of everything we do. We believe in that journey of learning and growth. It never stops, it keeps going. So we encourage you to join us then. Also, on Tuesday, the 17th, we're going to be discussing Books and Brews, our selection for this month, An Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. We discussed the first 6 chapters last month, and it was such a meaningful discussion. The book is exceptionally heavy. There's so much discussion around not just atrocities, but also the various ways in which Indigenous people have been disenfranchised historically, and the stealing of land. It's exceptionally educational, but it is a difficult book, and it's something that we should all be engaged with as much as we can, learning about this sort of thing. So this is a great opportunity to do just that. Visit gracepoint.net/calendar for details. We'll be reading the last half of the book, chapters 7 through 12. There's also a variety of things, as Lisa said, for parents and youth and kids to be connected and growing and learning with our community. And we encourage you to always visit gracepoint.net/calendar for details. And as events happen, you'll find them there. We'll always have them there. So visit the website for more. Another way that you can be engaged with the community is through giving. And giving is how everything we do is sustained. It's how the staff and the team are empowered to realize a progressive Christian community in Nashville, a community that now is fairly national, even international, and that's all made possible by you. We, the staff, are not Grace Point. You are Grace Point. Grace Point is not a building, it's a people, it's an idea, it's an always expanding reality. So you make that happen. If you're interested in being a part of how we are sustained, and particularly how we look ahead to 2021 and how many exciting things we have on our plate for this next year. And yeah, I know it's hard to look forward right now. It's hard to think about the future, but we're really excited about what's to come. If you want to be a part of that, you can visit gracepoint.net/give, where you'll find a bunch of information, or the easiest way is just to text GracePoint to 77977. That's GracePoint with an E to 77977. You can also, if you want, you can give stock. There's a bunch of different information on there, so feel free to check that out. And thank you. This is an exceedingly generous community, and I always find myself just floored by how exceedingly generous every member here is. So in every other way, whether it's in your time, financially, your expertise, thank you for giving, and thank you for being a part of this work that we do.
For the beauty of the earth, for the beauty of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the beauty of each hour of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars alight. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human love, brother, sister, parent, child, friends on earth and friends above, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful
Good morning, Grace Point. We're so glad you're here with us today. We're continuing our series, Let It Be. We're talking about in this series, embodying the values we share as a community. And this week, we're going to talk about the value of honesty or authenticity. And the way we talk about this at Grace Point is we say we believe in and express our authentic selves. For so many of us, that journey, part of that journey has been beginning to be able to say out loud what we really think, what we really feel, what we really believe, what we trust. And for so many of us, in so many different ways, our journey prior to where we are now told us maybe you couldn't say some of those things out loud. Maybe you couldn't acknowledge your questions and doubts, and maybe you should just keep those quiet. And so I'm really thrilled today to be here with Corey Dandridge, a Grace Pointer from up north in Pennsylvania. And Corey, we'll hear a little bit about how he connected with Grace Point. But Corey, thanks so much for taking the time to do this week.
Josh, this is amazing. This opportunity just to even just share with you and talk with you is just more than I ever imagined. You know, just joining with you guys just over a few months ago, I never thought I would be sitting here, you know, but
well, you know, and so, you know, Corey and Sarah and their family are part of Grace Point. And it's just been amazing how quickly you guys connected with the community. 'Cause I mean, they see you all the time doing announcement videos and that kind of thing. It really does feel like you just fit really quickly. You guys just got plugged in at Grace Point.
Well, you know what? You guys have made it very easy to do so. With your openness and your welcoming attitude, towards anyone that decides to come and be a part of what's going on here. It's just amazing. You don't get that same welcoming atmosphere everywhere. And I mean, you can sometimes people have been welcomed, and they say you're welcome to come in and join, but once you get in, it's kind of like a bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't been like that at all for us.
Man, I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, that's beautiful, and I'm so glad that you guys have connected. So what I'd like to do is just talk to you a little bit about your own journey and your experience, and I'd like to begin by asking you, what is your religious background? Like, how did you start out in the world of the Christian faith? What was that like for you?
Well, I'd like to say, like, I always tell the story about my growing up in the church. I was literally born and raised in the church. My mother went into labor on a weeknight service, on a midweek service, and I was born soon after. So literally born and raised in the church. But I come from a Pentecostal background, a Reformation called Church of God in Christ. And it's kind of synonymous with Assemblies of God. And so it's a Pentecostal background. Basically, we were, hand clapping, foot stomping, tongue talking, fundamentalist, a spirit-filled, organization, believes in signs, gifts, and wonders. And if you understand where that, that connotation comes from.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did you think about the Bible? And I think growing up, I mean, I was probably the farthest from that. My high school years, we were in a Southern Baptist church, and we always used to joke that we were the frozen chosen. Like not always a ton of life in that. But when you were thinking about the Bible, I knew Assemblies of God folks when I was growing up, but I never really had these conversations with them. What was it a similar approach to the Bible, sort of inerrant, infallible, literal? Is that how you all understood it?
Very much so. Very much so. Literal. The Word of God is infallible. You honor leadership, and you reverence leadership, and you obey leadership. That was a huge tenet, that you honor that, and you don't stray. You don't listen to anything else but the Bible. You don't really seek to learn anything other than what is being given to you. And if you want their opinion, they'll give it to you.
So it's sort of one of those contexts where if you're not going to question leadership, I would imagine what that would mean is you're just not going to question. Or if you do, it's not a thing you say out loud.
Correct.
Did you have growing up questions and those kind of things that you were maybe afraid to voice?
Well, I would always think of things that I was reading. I would always wonder how I felt like the Bible contradicted itself. And, even the one that you brought up about the ark, Noah and the ark, and how the different stories there were like two versions. and I remember reading that back then, and I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Yep. And even learning later on, like, there's different accounts of the crucifixion, or of how Jesus died. And I mean, like several of the books of the Bible, they don't even talk about it. Like Matthew doesn't even really, and it's like Mark is I think it's Mark is the only one that really kind of gives a full.
Matthew. So Mark ends, and I did an Easter sermon one year where I did the Gospel of Mark's story, and it just ends with them finding an empty tomb and the women walking away and saying nothing to no one. And my whole point was like, that's what we're doing. That's all, like, they eventually told, obviously, but like what we're doing, like that's what we get. We don't get the, Jesus showing up on the beach with some fish and like they get more elaborate as they go. But we live in that space of there's a rumor about an empty tomb. We don't know what to do with that. And they're all very different.
Very different, very different. And I mean, there's many other things that that were we would kind of wrestle with, that I would actually wrestle with on my own. And I would try to bring it up to my dad, who was a pastor. Like I forgot to mention that he was a pastor for almost 35 years. And growing up in a pastor's house, you didn't really question much. You just did as you were told. I was the oldest of 6 kids, and we were the music department. We were the van drivers. We did it all. We took up the offering. We did it all. We were the Levites. We were the
family business.
Family business.
My grandpa was a Free Will Baptist pastor. So my first 11 years when he was alive, that's where we were. And it was very much, kind of similar. We were there just about every time the door was open. And I remember similar things like that, of hearing things in when I started reading the Bible on my own. So when I got, saved, which is when I, was threatened so sufficiently that I had to go down front and get right. Because all that sort of way that trauma builds up over time. But I remember getting a Bible, and my parents had my name embossed on the front, engraved on the front. And I started reading the Bible, really reading it, and it was in King James. But even then, there were things like you were talking. Like I'm just like, what? Why does that not match up? They're not all telling the same story. And now I'm okay with that. No mental gymnastics. I'm just okay with it. So, when we met, I think the first time we talked, you came to a Reconstruct, right?
That's correct.
You remember? And when was that? Do you remember?
I believe it was around the time of, like, just before Easter. It was like Palm Sunday, between Palm Sunday and Easter.
Okay. So right when we were going virtual, you were right there.
Right there. When I listened to the Palm Sunday message, my heart was just like attacked. It was just like, I can't believe I'm hearing what I'm hearing. And some of the things that I was, studying and learning about on my own, and not really kind of sharing with too many people, because, they look at you crazy. Your friends will look at you crazy, all the ones that I grew up with. And you don't ask those kind of questions. And, talking about atonement, talking about sin and what it really is or isn't. And that just really blew my mind. And I was just like, I was totally, taken with the fact that, wow, I'm learning about this stuff on my own. I'm listening to all these different podcasts, and I'm like, wow, I finally found someone that's talking my language, or talking what I've been really kind of wrestling with. And I saw that you guys had Reconstruct on Wednesday, and I said, I'm going to try it out, and I'm just going to show up. I mean, I told Sarah, let's try it out. What's the worst that can happen? They'll kick us out. They'll say, they'll block us, put a block on us, and say you can't come. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Man, I'm so glad you did. I'm going to come back to that in just a little bit. So, what began the shift for you then? Because when you found us, you said you were reading stuff, listening to stuff. Like, there's obviously there's a migration happening for you from the beliefs or doctrines or whatever that you grew up with to a new, more progressive lens through which you see faith now. So what started that shift for you?
Well, like I said, I grew up very fundamentalist and very strict, very literal interpretation of the Bible. And this one particular weekend, I was really struggling, and I was living at home at the time. I was probably like 20, 21 or something like that. And I was at home, and I was just telling my dad, I said, you know what? I just feel like there's so much more than what we're doing, and then what we're learning, and then what we're experiencing as a body of Christ. I mean, we go through the same type of services every Sunday and every weeknight, and the same things are happening. The same people come up to the altar to get prayed for. You know, I mean, you never really see miracles happen. You never really see all these things that you read about in the Bible happening. And we're so focused on money, raising money, and it just got like, I just really got tired of it. So I told him, and I said, you know what? I'm just feeling like there's more. He said, well, you know, there's always, you know, there's more, but you know, there's no perfect place. There's no perfect place. All right, Dad. Well, this particular weekend, I was at a friend of mine's church around the corner from where my dad's church was, and he happens to be white, and his church is predominantly white at that time, and they were a non-denominational church. They actually left Assemblies of God and became non-denominational. And so, you know, our experiences were kind of similar. Ours was a little more demonstrative, but, you know, he and I were friends. He's a musician. He's pastor's son. We hung out. It was cool. So I'd come to a service every now and then. I sat in their service this particular weekend, and then all of a sudden, while in the midst of the message that the guest preacher was preaching, I felt like this impression said, "You're supposed to be here." I was like, "What?" And I was sitting next to a girl that I was kind of, you know, getting friendly with, and so I said, "What did you say?" And she said, "I didn't say anything." I said, "Well, I felt like somebody said something. So I felt like I heard something." She said, "Nothing. Just shut up. You know, just listen." And again, I felt the same impression. I said, "Okay, you're supposed to be here. Like, you're supposed to be at this church." I'm like, "What's going on?" Now, this is a white man's church around the corner from my dad's church. I'm like, "What is going on? This is crazy." So, you know, the service goes on. The pastor decides to call the ministers in training up to, you know, to pray for them, because he was kind of like their overseer, and he was just in town. And so the drummer, I had been training the drummer, like giving him lessons. And so that everyone was comfortable with me playing drums at their church. And so he was one of the ministers in training. So he got up to get prayed for, and I got on the drums. I sat down, and I'm playing lightly and just, you know, playing. And again, I felt this impression that you're supposed to be up there with the ministers in training. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm like, this is tripping me out. So I'm having like a conversation, literally a conversation with myself. And later on, I found out that somebody was looking at me. They said, "Man, it looked like you were talking to somebody." And I said, "I kind of was." And after the service, I'm out in the car sitting talking to the girl. And I said, "You know what? I don't know how to say this, but I feel like I'm supposed to be in this church." And she just broke down crying, and just like, she was weeping. I said, whoa, what happened?" She said, "I don't know, but I sense the same thing. I just didn't know how to tell you because your dad's church is right around the corner and you grew up there and this and that. And I said, oh my goodness. So the pastor's son went out with the guest speaker and his dad, who, they went out to eat afterwards, after the message. And I hung out with his wife at their house, and I waited for them to come back from the diner. And I had already told his wife what I had experienced in the service. And she was like, oh my God, you got to tell him. You got to tell him. And he came in and he sat down at his table, at his dining room table. And he was like, you know what, Corey, Randall was at the diner tonight. And he said, you know what? Corey's supposed to be in this church. And I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. So, long story short, we kind of like, we had all these conversations with his dad. His dad and I had these conversations, and it was like a moment. It was a huge moment for me to leave my dad's church and go to this white man's church around the corner. And because they had really started on their journey on branching out and, kind of like reaching out and listening to different speakers and, getting into reading different books and just, really, branching out. And so I started on my journey with that, and I left my Reformation and went to their church.
So was that awkward?
That was extremely awkward because, number one, I was living in my dad's house at the time. And I really didn't have like a car situation. I was driving the church van.
So you're driving the church van to the other church?
So
that's awesome. That right there, that's just awesome.
So when I finally got up the nerve to actually leave, my dad was like, obviously you cannot, you can't keep the van. Now, mind you, I kind of left out a big detail also, that I was ordained an elder in my dad's church.
Oh, so you're actually in a position of leadership.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm an ordained elder at through that Reformation, through the Kojic Church Reformation. So this was huge for me at the time. And my dad was like, well, you got to give me your collar. You can't drive the van. You can't do this and you can't do that. And when I left and I went over there for that first Sunday, that the pastor and I sat in the office, and he said, I want you to be, right under, right in our ministerial staff and kind of like come under his wing. And he said, wait a minute, what are you driving? I said, nothing now. I have no car now. He said, wait a minute. He made one phone call, and a couple in the church, their father had just passed away, like 3 months prior. And they said, we got a car laying in the backyard. It's perfect. He can have it for free.
Oh, that works out.
That worked out like amazingly. So I got a car the first week I was there, when I made the jump. And I was like, oh my God. And, and just things just, started to roll and roll and roll. And I just felt more comfortable there. And I felt like, I was like, wow, my mind is like just expanding. My vocabulary is just like going crazy. Now I start to read books. I started to read a lot. And it was mind blowing. It was great. I got married there to my first wife there. And I got just a lot of things happen. And I also met years into that, we went as a ministerial staff down to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, to see and listen to a man who's starting a movement called the Emergent Church.
Wow.
And this gentleman's name is Brian McLaren.
Wow. That's awesome.
And I'm like, okay, we had started reading, I forgot which book one of his first books. And we started, we all started reading his books. And we're like, okay, we're going to jump on this wagon. This is great. This is amazing. This is exciting. And so we went down there. We went to the conference. It was amazing. We sat and talked with Brian for a little bit. It was just great. It was awesome. And at that time, I was also listening to Carlton Pearson, Bishop Carlton Pearson. He was talking about universalism and, everything that he's talking about. And so I started to look at Carlton Pearson, Brian McLaren. Soon after that, Francis Schaeffer. And, just kind of like my mind was just blown at that point. But, and I'll give it back to you in a second, when
you
Brian
keep it, brother.
When Brian
I told you to preach.
No, it's no preach, but when Brian decided to marry his gay son, that's when we broke it off. That was a deal breaker for us.
Too far at the time.
That went way too far. That was beyond the pale. No, that's not cool. So we just left it at that, and there was really no more talk of that. However, I was still intrigued. And so I would study, I would still read, his books, and I would start to branch out and, kind of like look for things to, really, because like now I'm starting to have experiences with the church at that time. It was kind of during Obama's first term. And now that church was primarily a Republican-led church, undercurrent, and a lot of tension was going on, throughout the church, and even on the ministerial staff. It was bad. Where even to the point where one of the elders was sending around emails with monkeys and displaying Obama as a monkey, and it was just, I was like, whoa, and nobody was really calling him to the carpet, and I'm like, this is not cool.
So it was a mostly white church, but I'm just wondering, like, did anybody care how you were processing that? Was anybody like, hey, maybe we should listen to what Corey has to say about this?
They basically looked at it like, well, he's older, and that's just him, and they kind of like just brushed it off. And I'm like, wait a minute, no. At that time I was the only African American on the pastoral team. I was the only one. And the church, it was probably like a 70-30 type, situation. 70% white and 30% other. So it was kind of like trying to make the meld, to make that, the word, but they were trying to integrate as much as they could. And it just wasn't, the undercurrent was just too heavy. And long story short of that, I eventually decided to leave. My wife at the time and we decided to leave, and I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I mean, one of the last straws was when, from the pulpit, the pastor was like, if Obama gets elected for the second term, I'm leaving the country. I'm like, what? We literally got up and walked out of the church, and I came back eventually and apologized, but that was just like, this is crazy.
Sure. Well, I wonder, so at the beginning for me, I wasn't aware that I was doing anything dangerous or that I would get in trouble for that was controversial. Like, I just started reading and asking questions, and it wasn't until I started saying it out loud in front of other people that I was like, oh, not everybody's on this journey. Did you have were you very aware from the beginning, like, I'm doing something that's going to get me in trouble here? Or were you in sort of a situation where you were like, you found out and you're like sneaking off to read the books because you're going to get in trouble if somebody sees that you've got a Brian? And I didn't start with Brian. The thing that broke me I'm going to say this out loud. The thing that really, like, the first thing besides the Bible that I started reading were books in high school by Max Lucado. And that even was somewhat controversial because we had this very, you don't read books that aren't the Bible. Like you were talking about with your denomination, like you don't read books that aren't the Bible. So were you aware that you were in dangerous territory just by reading these things and asking these things from the beginning, or did it just dawn on you over time?
No, I was very much aware. I was very much aware that the things that I was reading, things that I was learning about were taboo, you know, for the church that I came from. And it was just, you know, it was something that I just felt like, you know, I have to see where this road leads to, because it's like now things are kind of like starting to make sense. And we went through a bunch of different movements. We went through the kingdom movement, where everything was the kingdom, and where everything was, it was just, we went through a bunch of different turns, you know, twists and turns, even to get where I am today. I even look back at the church right now. They're kind of like they're going through the whole Eastern Orthodox type. Okay. Yeah, they're bringing liturgy into their services, and I think they're called a convergent church.
Okay.
Yeah, that's their movement now. But
go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I definitely knew that I was on a different road, a different path. And when I started to hear Brian talk about his son and talk about, you know, homosexuality, just even broaching that topic was like, oh my God, this is crazy. But but why not? Why not, you know, welcome everyone to the church? Why not? Why not? Where does it say that we can't? And then I know all about all the quote unquote clobber scriptures and all of that. And so I really, for a long time, I had to kind of like, you know, really kind of study that and understand where I need to, you know, fall on that. And that's what, you know, that's kind of led me here.
So the first thing I remember us really engaging with each other about was around this issue of LGBTQ plus inclusion. And I remember when you reached out at one point and said, hey, I want to go public with the fact that I'm affirming. What was that? And because of your background, because your dad was a pastor, because of all of that experience, I know that you felt like I'm going to get some flack for this, but why was it so important for you to just be honest about where you were?
Because I understand, or I empathize the pain that my brothers and sisters feel with, you know, with just living their life, just being. And I said, you know what? I can't come here and not be a part of the family fully and embrace what we are as a family fully, and not allow people to know where I am at this point in my life and where, you know, what I stand for. Because it really kind of like came to light for me when one of the last places that I served at as a musician and worship leader, they made me sign a form saying that, you know, if you're going to serve on ministry here, on the ministry team here, you're going to be on stage, you're going to be this and that, you have to say that gay marriage is wrong, and you know, the whole thing, you know, that the lifestyle is wrong, and all of that. That was one of the things that you had to sign and say. And I remember bringing it home to Sarah, the form, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable signing this. I don't feel comfortable signing this form. This is crazy. But, you know, I haven't played, I haven't sung in such a long time. I mean, it's a great church. It's one of the largest churches in America, actually, here in Pennsylvania. And I'm sitting here like, you know, this is a great opportunity, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And I eventually signed the thing in, and I went and started playing and singing. But the whole time I'm like, this is just not right. This is not right. This is not me. This is not being honest with where I'm at. And I eventually went to them and I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. I've been kind of like listening to this, the messages from another church, an affirming church, and I'm really clicking with what they're, what they're talking about and how they're, just welcoming everyone, and the campus pastor told me when I was talking to him as I was getting ready to leave, he said, well, you know what, Corey, we welcome everyone. Everyone can come to our church. We even have, some people that are ushers, and, it doesn't matter. The thing is, I mean, think about it. Jesus had Judas around him. So why?
Are you serious?
And I'm sitting there with the phone in my hand, like,
my goodness.
Jesus had Judas? So we can have homosexual, we can have the LGBTQ family people come and serve with us, but we won't. They can't be ministers. They can't be on the stage. They can't be a part of the leadership.
Yeah. So last week I was in a conversation with somebody. They were doing some work around inclusion in all sorts of areas of society. They asked me if we could talk about church, and the writer asked me, what is one thing you would say to pastors and churches who are thinking about this issue? And I would say, you have to decide to go all in, because churches that don't go all in are wounding people, and they're actively working against what God's doing in the world. They're actively working against this movement that in so many areas of our lives, where people who are being are on the underside of power, people who are essentially victims of a dominant structure that's xenophobic, hateful, bigoted, right? Their lives are like, you have to go all in. You can't say, oh, everybody's welcome, but then there's this asterisk, and underneath it, there's all this fine print about what you can and can't do. And so that for you, that was sort of like I gotta cut bait and run with this.
Yep, I had to do it. I had to do it, and it was the best decision I've ever I've made in a long time. I would never go back to a church like that. I could never go back to a church like that. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this later, but one of the other main reasons for me being here and wanting to stay here and belong here was when I think at that time George Floyd was getting either happened or soon after Easter, George Floyd death came about, and you as the pastor jumped on it with coming out with a statement, and then the church came out with a statement, and I'm like, this is new. This is new. Like, for the church to even be socially conscious of what's actually going on with African Americans in this country. I mean, the systemic racism that's in this country, in the world. And I was just like blown away. I was like, whoa, you didn't hesitate. You didn't say, well, let me, I don't know if you did or not, but it's not, it almost came out like I didn't talk to the board. I didn't wait. The board didn't have a vote for me to say if I can say something or whatever. I'm like, you just put something out. I was like, oh my goodness. Who does that? I've never seen anything like that before. And that was a game changer for me. That was a game changer for me. I had never experienced it because like I said, I've been a part of integrated church for 20 years. I mean, I'm 47. I joined that church, that church, I think it was like 23, 24, something like that. And, so I've been in and around this for a long time. And I've been through 3 churches since, and I've never experienced that before.
Man, first of all, I'm just so glad you found Grace Point and that you took a chance showing up at a Reconstruct. And I mean, you all have become such a part of the community, and it's really, I mean, in some ways, reshaping my understanding of what community even is, right? Because of how beautiful this whole process has been. I want to, everything you've shared today, I appreciate you being willing. I know talking about your own moments of coming to the most honest space, living authentically, or they're meaningful. And I appreciate you sharing them. I want to ask you one question just as we get ready to wrap up. What is, because I just always find this interesting, what is something you're excited about right now? Something you're learning, something you're reading, you're thinking, what is something that excites you right now on your journey?
I had, like I said, I think I mentioned to you or in the group last week, I started, I was finishing up a book by Richard Rohr, Falling Upward, and about just basically moving into this new stage of life where, you're kind of throwing all of those things away, and you're walking this contemplative walk with Christ and walking with God, and just like really like learning yourself and opening yourself to what's really, what the world is really about. And then you mentioned the book by Shelby Spong, James Shelby Spong, Unbelievable. That book is just blowing me away. That's kind of like his what is it? His thesis. He has it's his like manifesto for the future church. And oh my goodness, it's unbelievable. It truly is unbelievable.
It lives up to the hype into the name.
It really lives up to the hype. I'm really into that book, and just the ideas, and I've heard you talk about a few of them, like about sin, and about the atonement, and about, oh my goodness, there's just so many different things that it touches on. And it's just blowing my mind. It's really like expanding me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know who else to talk to about it, but I'm able to talk to you guys about it. And it's just like totally amazing. Grace Point has saved my spiritual life. I can truly say that, because I was really kind of like in a desert for the past 5 years, and just kind of like, and I was just serving because I knew how to do that. I know how to sing. I know how to play. I did that. I have my own groups. I've done church. I know how to do church, but I didn't know how to live life like it was supposed to be. And just being open and free to everyone, and just it's been a game changer for me. I really am grateful for this church. I mean, when my wife had her health scare a few months ago, and you guys as a body, as a family, just jumped on it. I put the call out, and I didn't expect all that would happen, but you guys just loved on us in tangible ways, not just like, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. We hope I know you're way over there in Pennsylvania, but we can't really reach out to you. No, you guys reached out and latched onto us. You supported us. It was in so many different ways. I mean, we're just eternally grateful. There's no way we could repay what you guys, the love that you guys showed to us during that time. And it was such a scary time. such a scary time. I mean, and things are happening fast, and you guys just jumped in, and we'll never forget that. We'll never forget that. And so whenever you ask us to do the announcements or whatever to be a part, whatever you ask of us, we will do our best to oblige and just like give our all. We love doing what we're doing. The kids love it. They're like, every time they come over, they're like, Dad, is it our turn yet? It's our turn yet to do the announcements. Because I let them do the announcement. I let them actually say stuff, and we do the whole little skits, and they love it. You know, even Sarah, she's very shy and very kind, you know, but she even joins in on the action. And it's like amazing to watch my family, you know, just really connect with a church that's hundreds of miles away. And you embrace us like we're right there. That's just amazing.
Man, I'm so glad to hear that. And we're grateful for you all, and, you know, you and Sarah and those beautiful kids being a part of this community. It's a gift. And I'm grateful for ways you've loved on my family, and that you've been there for my oldest when he's had questions and struggles. It's been a beautiful thing to watch. So grateful for you all. So grateful you're here at Grace Point, and so grateful that you took some time to share your story this morning.
Thank you. Beautiful. We love you guys. We really do.
Grace Point loves you back, man.
This is my part of the story, and I'm sticking to this tune. It may not seem to you like fact, but for me it is the truth. I've wrestled long and hard with all the pieces and the parts, and wound up with this bleeding, broken heart. And I wish that I had known this from the start. Did you ever really give a damn? Did you even care? Was there curiosity for all the burdens that I bear? Did you ever stop to wonder? Does it even cross your mind that I have done the best I could 1,000 times? This is my part in the damage. Yes, I'm owning all my shame. The sticks and stones that broke my bones had nothing on the names. And I've been called all kinds of things from the pulpit and my kin, till somehow I believed I'd never win. In this endless strife and struggle with my sin, did they ever really give a damn? Did they even care? Too busy trying to save my soul with all their thoughts and prayers. Did they ever stop to notice? Did they walk on by and leave me lying in that ditch 1,000 times? So I'm looking in the mirror. What's this face I see? I hardly recognize myself, this man I wanna be. I'm tired of the masquerade, and my part in the game. Surely there must be a better way. So I'm learning to be naked and unafraid. Oh, I'm trying not to give a damn, give in to the despair. I'm starting to protect my heart and treat her with some care. Oh, why'd I ever listen to those broken, hateful lies when love is whispered in my ear 1,000 times?
Grace Point, thank you again for being here for another wonderful Sunday morning together. I also want to thank Corey Dandridge from GP Pennsylvania for sharing his story with us this morning. I want to thank my friend Ben Grace for another wonderful song that he recorded and shared with us. You can find Ben if you search Ben Grace Music, or if you go to Apple Music, Spotify, all those music places wherever you find music, and you can search for his record. It's called If Words Could Heal the Wounds. So we're still living in the midst of a lot of uncertainty. As of right now, which is about 9:15 on Saturday morning, we still don't know for sure who the president's going to be. The pandemic is setting new record highs. There's a lot of things going on in the world. And so if you, Grace Point, if you need somebody to talk to, if you need pastoral care, if you just need to spend a few moments sharing a story, please feel free to reach out. Your staff are here for you. We want to be able to do that. So feel free to send me an email at josh@gracepoint with an E on the end, .net, josh@gracepoint.net, and we can set up an appointment to Skype. I think people still do that. Zoom, FaceTime, whatever that looks like. We just want you to know we're here for you and that we love you. So Grace Point, until next time, may we live fully, may we love wastefully, and may we have the courage to be all that we can be. Grace and peace be with you.